15 minutes, I imagine.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair Nichols. Good evening, everyone. We want to call a regular meeting of the Lower Russian River Advisory Committee to order. Vesta.
What am I doing? Oh, where?
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of right here.
Here we go. Take advantage of me for going forward. The next one. Okay. And this is an important thing to do, especially with voting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
That's both state present. Lucy Hardcastle, present. Vicky Blue, here. Sarah Rodup,
Here.
Kathy Duff, here. Greg Penning,
Here.
Cynthia Strecker, here. And Mike Nichols.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And do we have any comments from council members on the approval of the agenda?
I'd like to approve it.
Okay. Motion from Vesta. Do we have a second, please?
Sure.
Second.
Who
Okay.
was the second? I'm sorry.
Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Would you
And
call?
you don't need a roll call. You can
That's
just.
right. We're all here. Yes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next item is
Could
statement.
we do a quick announcement from Lupe Catalan just to let people know that there is not Spanish interpretation because we had intended to have it? Can I?
Chair, you can, or clerk, you can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lupe, could you come on?
Sí, buenas tardes a todos. Queremos darles un breve mensaje que por dificultades técnicas el día de hoy no tendremos interpretación. Les pedimos una disculpa de antemano. Gracias.
By nada. Next item will be statement of conflict of interest. This is the time for the chair, the vice chair, and council members to indicate any statements of conflict of interest on any item on the agenda. Do we have any statements of conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we can move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. The consent agendas for, pardon me? Consent agendas for items expected to be routine and non-controversial. Lower Russian River MAC will act upon them at one time without discussion. Any representative, staff member, or interested party may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Do we have any comments from council members on the consent agenda item? Seeing none, do we have any comments from the public? Not seeing any public comments, bring it back to the council for a motion to approve the consent agenda, please. So, Cynthia moves.
And somebody who
Great,
was in the
thanks.
meeting, somebody who was, you were not at the last, at this,
It was Brighton.
that's true. You were, I think there's bylaws.
Generally speaking, he could second the motion because he was present.
He was
He
present.
is a-
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, as a member.
So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which include the minutes from September 14th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is council member comment on matters not listed on the agenda. So do we have any comments from council members on items not on the agenda? That's it.
I'm wondering if the MAC can have a liaison to local chambers of commerce around things like the Adopt a Road program, that chambers of commerce are logical people to adopt sections of roads in Sonoma County. They have enough members to pull off the volunteering, and should be able to coordinate with the MAC, who does a fair amount of that kind of thing. Is it possible? Is it the kind of thing that's within our jurisdiction? And is it something that the MAC can do to reach out to chambers of commerce and other local organizations to find more bodies to volunteer to adopt roads in Sonoma County?
My suggestion is that the MAC consider that as being and put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Any other comments? I do have a couple of comments. First off, there's going to be a the Board of Zoning Adjustments meeting was canceled, which was scheduled for next week. And that meeting was going to discuss a use permit to allow for the parking and operation of a mobile food truck on a 5.84 acre property, which is the Sonoma West property. The food truck is proposed to be parked between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. 7 days a week in the paved parking area of the southern portion of the parcel. No new structures or storage are proposed, and garbage disposal will be captured by the shared use of the inn's existing commercial bins with a small garbage can located at the food truck. The operation will be staffed by the truck owner. So this is normally would come before land use. The public comment period is closing on the 16th, Monday the 13th.
What's the address?
Yeah, I don't know.
The address on that parcel is 14100 Brookside Lane.
It's where Brookside intersects with Main Street.
So
right across from where it used to be fire.
That's correct.
Which one?
Don Ranch.
Yes. Oh, that area.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So because we were able to, because of the truncated timeline, we're unable to call a land use committee meeting. We just want to let the public know that this is an issue that they certainly can comment on. They have until Monday to submit their comments to Permit Sonoma, and the address to email public comments to planning agency at sonoma-county.org. So if you have any comments pro or con, please submit them to planning agency at sonoma-county.org.
Who is the food truck? What company?
I mentioned that it's owned by Mr. Silvestri.
I don't recall the name on it.
Louis Silvestri.
Any member of the public remember the name of that truck?
I don't remember the name, but it's owned by Louis Silvestri, and he's going to be staffing the truck. All right. The second bit of information that I have that's not on the agenda.
Like I wanted to mention,
Oh,
I
sorry.
posted that in a couple of places in social media
Very good.
to get more public info.
So it's posted on Gurnville Locals and
Gurnville Locals and Lower Russian River.
very good. Thank you. The second item that I have that's not on the agenda that should be noted is the fact that Sonoma Clean Power, effective November 30th, will be discontinuing their assistance program for SCHIP applications for solar and battery backup systems. The program will remain in effect, however, applicants will have to work directly with their installers and PG&E. That concludes my comments on items not listed on the agenda. Moving on to the next, are there any other comments from board members or the public for items not listed on the agenda?
Actually, I have something I'd like to bring up.
Very good.
So through Forestville Planning Association, they have a program called Hometown Heroes, and it's really lovely. People nominate locals who are doing good for our community, and I nominated Desta Coach Steaks. But I really encourage people to take advantage of it. You know, even if you're not a Forestville person, go on the website, 5436, 95436. I should know that, that's my zip code. And if there are people in your community helping others and doing good, take advantage of making that public.
Lucy is also a hometown hero.
Yes.
It's easy, but up till now, I hadn't known it was beyond the 95426 or zip code.
All right, any further comments from board members, the council members? All right, moving on. Next item is a presentation by Roberta McIntyre on a full review of the Firewise Community Program. Pardon me?
Supervisor.
I'm sorry. I skipped right over that. I apologize. Supervisor Hopkins, we look forward to your report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person tonight, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather, and given a recent COVID exposure, figured that it was better to be safe than sorry. And so I'm joining you all virtually. A few different announcements. I do want to mention that the governance study, the report will be posted very soon. We wanted to post that publicly on the website after it had been translated into Spanish, so that both Spanish speaking and English speaking residents would have an opportunity to view it at the same time. And I think that we're just in the final stages of getting that up on the website. So we will definitely send out an email to all of you and also put that in our email newsletter when that is up. I also wanted to mention an upcoming wastewater solutions feasibility study community meeting. I know that that is a mouthful, but this is really about the Russian River TMDL, or total maximum daily load, and sort of the impacts of that on lower Russian River residents, and the sort of work that we're doing in kind of Camp Meeker and Monterey areas to try to identify big picture solutions. And so we'll be having some panels about resources. Our goal is to both get the information out and also answer people's questions at that meeting. And that meeting will take place on November 29th at 5:30 p.m. at the Monterey Community Center. And it's really spearheaded and requested by the CAG, which is our Citizens Advisory Group for Wastewater and really on-site wastewater treatment systems in the lower Russian River. And we've got amazing folks like Dan Fine and Rich Holmer and others who have been dedicating a tremendous amount of their time and energy to advocating for everyone who is on septics and impacted by these rules. So again, Monterey Villa Grande Wastewater Solutions Feasibility Study Community Meeting, November 29th, 5:30, Monterey Community Center. I also actually would like to share the exciting news that you should have already received by email, but to make the formal announcement, the ballots have been tallied. And so we do have the names of the folks who will be joining our Lower Russian River Municipal Advisory Council for the next term. So it will be Spencer Scott will be appointed as the Guerneville representative. And that will be going before the Board of Supervisors meeting in early January. We don't actually yet have the calendar for when the Board of Supervisors meetings will be in January, so we can't actually announce a date. And then in Forestville, we will have 2 new representatives because Lisa Namenson has stepped down from her representative role and will be serving as an alternate in 2024. So it is Lonnie Lazar and Ty Hilton will be appointed as Forestville representatives. And the first regular River MAC meeting is scheduled to take place on Thursday, January 18th. So our goal is to make sure that we are on the Board of Supervisors calendars before that meeting so that everyone can be sworn in officially then. And we're also working on planning an annual retreat or training workshop in January. So just stay tuned for more information about that. All right, I've got a couple more announcements. I do want to mention that we had a vegetation management item on Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, and that we will be moving forward with actually kind of extending and expanding the staff who are available at the Agricultural and Open Space Preservation District. Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District. Here I am messing up my my names. Must be late and a long week. So anyways, that will actually provide us with additional opportunities to try to draw down state or federal funds and assist homeowners with compliance with defensible space, and then also the community-based projects that we've been working on so hard in West County to try to create shaded fuel banks around our densely populated communities. So I'm excited that we're continuing those programs, and that we will also have a new round of county funding coming up in the next year as well, spending down our PG&E settlement funds. I wanted to mention something that is not technically my jurisdiction, but that I've been hearing from folks in the Lower Russian River a lot about lately, and that is homeowners insurance rates and cancellations. I think that it feels like we are reaching a crisis point in West County with the number of non-renewals and then skyrocketing rates. And so that is something that I just want to let you know that actually Debbie and I are going to be tag teaming. We've been in conversation and coordination with the Russian River Chamber of Commerce, who's expressed a keen concern about this because they're hearing from local businesses about it quite a bit. And I continue to talk to and work with Senator McGuire on this. And I did attend a meeting with the insurance commissioner's office and so did Debbie, that really sounded like a sales pitch for the insurance industry. And he just sent a glitzy email today, actually this afternoon, sort of touting all of the wonderful things that he's going to do, but has not yet done to actually protect us as, sort of insurance policy holders. So we'll see what happens. He's kind of talking a big game, but it doesn't seem like there's necessarily a whole heck of a lot to back that up. So I hope to be proven wrong, but I'm still a little bit cynical and feel like we need to do some advocacy locally to really lift this up as a top priority for state government. And finally, also happened on Tuesday was we did award our community investment funds and tourism impact funds. It's a long list of very deserving West County and countywide nonprofits that received funding, but just for a few highlights that are particularly salient for the Lower Russian River, we did fund Food for Thought. We did fund Russian River Keeper. We did fund, Russian River Alliance. That was actually to cover the expenditures at Russian River Pride. And then for our Tourism Impact Fund, we actually expanded the funding for Food for Thought for their Full Belly program. River to Coast Children's Services received $15,000 to support their food pantry. We've got a financial assistance program for the Grayton Day Labor Center, and $30,000 for Russian River trash cleanup. And then also supported the facilitator for the community mapping project through West County Health Centers that is really helping to drive us towards the creation of a community center and enhanced recreational amenities in the Lower Russian River. So, and that was a lot to get through, but if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Supervisor Hopkins. Let's start with our council members. Joe, do you have any comments to Supervisor?
That's true.
Okay.
It's Lucy Hardcastle. Thank you also to providing bike racks for the Forestville Downtown Oaks Park. It's been a huge need that we've been listening about, and so it's a small one, but thank you very much. It means a lot to our town.
Thank you. Okay, Vesta.
Linda, the funding that came in for River Keeper, and the Russian River trash cleanup, is any of that going to reinstate the clean team that River Keeper has for doing the trash service for homeless camps along the river that got denied funding from the health department?
That's a really good question. We have, I believe, funded Russian River Keeper trash cleanup efforts every year since we started receiving these funds. And, I would have to review their application to determine exactly how they're going to spend it. In the past, I know they've spent it a lot of times on, buying the equipment actually, to do the trash pickups. I'd have to double check on that one. But it is a shame that was lost. And that's something that I will be talking to Tina Rivera about. Actually, Debbie just let me know that she already reached out to Tina Rivera about this. So we will try to find out what happened. And maybe I'll circle back if Debbie doesn't hear back from her and try to text her to check in on that.
Because it's so much of the trash that ends up in the river is coming from these camps. And without the trash service, the river's going to be in trouble. So thank you very much for checking that out.
Hello, Supervisor, this is Mike, and I have a question. First of all, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for the additional funding for wildfire vegetation management. That's a great boon, and we really appreciate it. I do have a question regarding the SoCo Adapts program for $10,000 rebates up to reduce wildfire risk. We have a number of homes that are outside of the boundaries of the current program with Madronius, and I was wondering, will the funding that has been approved by the Board of Supervisors this last week expand those areas?
It is not planned to expand those areas currently. However, sort of getting that staffing will allow us to look for additional opportunities for funding that would allow us to expand those areas. It's really frustrating, that we have these somewhat narrowly defined boundaries where, folks have access to fantastic resources to help harden their homes. And yet, just outside of that line, unfortunately, those resources don't exist. And so I'm looking to forward to hearing from Roberta tonight. And, there have also been efforts with communities organizing volunteerism, particularly to help out, maybe elders in our community who are no longer physically able to, to do some of this work and aren't eligible for those funds. So kind of how can we all pitch in? We also do still have the chipper programs available in West County. And so that's another potential area for help is taking advantage of that. But yeah, I wish that we were able to draw those boundaries bigger, and we will continue to look for funding in order to be able to do so.
Thank you very much. My second comment was with regard to your comments on insurance. And Sacred West County sponsored an insurance seminar last night, I guess. And we will be doing that. I have to sit on that board as well, and we will be scheduling another insurance seminar for the lower Russian River folks, either in Birdville, Monterey, or Forestville, probably in January. So I just wanted to.
And so far, it looks like it's going to be in Rio Nido.
It could be, yeah.
Yes.
Right. We're not 100% positive.
Not yet.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Yeah, that concludes my comments. Any comments from the
through the chair? I actually have a follow-up to the Russian River Keeper question.
Yeah.
Thanks. So the Russian River Clean Team program will be going to the Clean Team, and it will be removing trash, and the funds will be going to, I'm just looking at on my smaller screen over here. I have multiple devices going on, so give me 1 second. That it's going towards volunteer recruitment, staffing, training, disposal costs, performance tracking, and reporting. So sort of all of those things to keep it functioning. So, and also just worth noting that in the last 12 months, the Clean Team has removed over 245,000 pounds of trash and over 49,000 pounds from District 5, as well as 45 tires, multiple appliances, mattresses, and other refuse. And then our county funds combined with local donations, and we've got a lot of volunteers, obviously, who help to bring home that benefit to West County. So just wanted to share that.
That means that the Clean Team trash service is going to get funded, or just the other kinds of cleanups that River Keeper does?
It is part of the Clean Team program.
Okay, because the trash service is specific.
Yeah, I have to circle back to River Keeper on that one.
Thank you.
Very good. Then we conclude comments from the council members. Open it up to the floor. Do we have any comments for Supervisor Hopkins from our attendees?
We have somebody who typed a question in online. Question from Lisa Nominson. How are the bike and pedestrian surveys going along? What are the next steps, if you know? And how are the downtown improvements going?
Great questions. So we are actually getting quite a bit of feedback from West County on that active transportation plan survey. And the next step in that process is that our SCTA, so Sonoma County Transportation Authority, and Regional Climate Protection Authority staff will be reviewing all of that and kind of coming up with, you know, a description of like a project essentially for those areas that have a lot of requests for service from residents. And then from there, once we kind of develop the plan, then we start looking, of course, for funding to implement the plan. But kind of that's like a sort of longer term thing. In the meantime, I'm also going to take all of that information to Johannes over at SoCo Pi, and I'm going to say, hey, what can we do potentially with some of our community infrastructure funds or, you know, tourism impact funds, or just within the existing roads budgets to move forward on, you know, on things like crosswalks or, you know, speed tables and things like that. And I do also want to mention that early next year, Susan Gorin and I will be bringing an active transportation workshop before the Board of Supervisors. And so I would love it if, you know, some representatives from our MACs could participate, because this is really going to be talking about how do we get more bike lanes, more sidewalks, more crosswalks in unincorporated Sonoma County. And we're also going to be, at my request, looking at revisiting some policies. So right now, apparently, for some reason, the county has a policy against speed bumps or speed tables. Obviously, you don't want to put that on River Road or any road that is, you know, like more than 25 miles an hour. But in certain residential neighborhoods, those could really be used to try to calm traffic and to try to prevent people from using those residential neighborhoods, often as a shortcut around a larger road, because they don't want to sit in the traffic. So it's going very well. And I would say, please, though, keep getting the word out to all of the folks that you know to try to take that survey. And with respect to the downtown improvements, are we talking, I'm guessing, downtown Forestville or downtown Guerneville? Because we've got some scheduled in both towns.
I'm going to guess that she meant Forestville.
Okay, that's what I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
So those are, you know, sort of the majority of the improvements are on hold simply because of the coordination with the water district, where we didn't want to actually put, you know, do a whole bunch of new work that was only then going to be torn up the very next year. And so most of that will be moving forward next year, we're hoping, but we're working very closely with the water district to try to ensure that we are kind of working in conjunction. We actually had to halt repaving that was scheduled to already happen. And but again, we want to wait until everything is already dug up so that we don't repave roads and then have them dug up for sewer and water infrastructure right after that.
Okay. Now, members of the public, do you have any comment for Supervisor Hopkins? Seeing none, Supervisor Hopkins, thank you very much for your comments. We always appreciate hearing from you. We wish you well and hope that the bugs don't get you and that you recover quickly.
Through the chair, we do have a hand raised online.
Oh, we do. Great. Okay. Yes. We can't see that here, so go ahead.
Elena, I'm going to unmute you so that you can ask your question. Elena, go ahead and press unmute.
If Elena is not able to communicate, perhaps you can submit it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Super. Hi, fabulous people. So my name is Elena, and I bought a house in Guerneville, and I'm about 5-6 years away from retirement. I live in San Francisco. I bought it with my fiance. This is my soul is in Guerneville. I love this area. And so we bought this house. We're going to Airbnb it, and I'm not sure if this is the right time to kind of butt in with this conversation. We bought this house, and we were going to Airbnb it sometimes. And then you guys put a moratorium on it. You said, "Oh, we're going to put a stop to it for a year." Right before that, we filled out the application. We paid for the permit. Then we showed up to the city council meeting on that city council meeting after where you guys were talking about it. After a year, I mean, we even got a house manager. We got everything that we're supposed to do. And then we found out that our house was rezoned. And so this is I mean, this is huge in my life, right? We bought the house for way more than it's worth now. It's underwater. I absolutely love this house. I would hate to lose this house. I cannot move to Guerneville and, you know, and I have to pay rent here in San Francisco. At the moment, I'm a business owner in San Francisco. And so we decided to post on Airbnb anyway and see what happens, right? So we posted on Airbnb and immediately we got slapped with $6,700 fine. So obviously I don't have this money. I cannot pay this money. I'm a single mom, and I am going to ask you and beg you guys to reconsider this rezoning that you have done. I'm sure there has been some loud people for some reason, you know, and I went around in my neighborhood and asked the neighbors, and they said, you know, this community, this street, which is Riverside, has been a vacation street for years and years and years. It's very popular. There's about 70% vacation Airbnb houses, short-term rentals. And, you know, for some reason, you guys have rezoned it. And
Elena, I'm so sorry. We're at 2 minutes.
Well, I just want to ask you guys.
Thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. And is there any other public comment?
If anyone else has public comment, please raise your hand to speak. I'm not seeing any additional hands.
Thank you very much.
Chair Nichols, would you like me to respond to that in terms of the next steps in the vacation rental planning process, or it's at your discretion?
Be fine, Supervisor. Please do.
Thank you. So I wanted to let Elena know that we actually just held a series of 3 town hall meetings in the Lower Russian River to kind of explain what the decisions that were made at the Board of Supervisors and what the next steps are. And so that was, I'm not going to go through obviously the entirety of those 1.5 hour meetings, but I do want to mention that the next opportunity to revisit this subject will be in the general plan update, which will kick off in December at the Board of Supervisors and then begin in earnest next year with community-based meetings. And we will absolutely be doing presentations in front of both of our municipal advisory councils in West County about the general plan update, and look forward to engaging with the MAC on the way forward. But I just want to say, please don't blame the MAC for the vacation rental policy. That's on me. That is on the Board of Supervisors. And you can always send an email if you have additional questions or concerns.
Thank you, Supervisor. Moving on to the next item, a presentation on Firewise Community Program, and it's my pleasure to introduce Roberta McIntyre, who's going to be making the presentation. Knowing Roberta well, she's got lots of handouts for us.
I'll just leave it up for the board and the clerk.
Great, thank you.
Those are just informationals about Fire Safe Sonoma. So thank you Supervisor Hopkins. Thank you guys all for coming. I want to just commend the MAC board for all the time you spend on the board and your commitment to the community. And I'm sure you guys are all volunteers. I don't know if the public knows that, but these guys are all volunteering their time and energy. And the work they do is much broader than the time they spend here. And then also, again, thank you guys online and those here in person for coming and taking your time out today and caring about your community, spending time here. So there's a couple of things I wanted to dive into earlier with some of the comments, but I'm not here for any of that. I'm here to speak to you all specifically about the Firewise USA program and how Fire Safe Sonoma is connected to it and how it can be beneficial for communities to become Firewise and, you know, the benefits of all that. So first of all, I want to say that I'm going to provide the board a high level of Firewise. I'm not going to get into the weeds. We don't have time for that. But I hope that I provide you enough information to get you thinking about it. And I'm sure you'll have lots of questions after. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have here or even later That's what we're here for, Fire Safe Sonoma. But real quick, a little bit about Fire Safe Sonoma. I have the handout there about us, but we're a countywide fire safety council. And we have been the countywide fire safety council for over 25 years. We're in our 26th year now. So we've been working in the wildland fire and safety and risk reduction space way before it was popular. We have a 9-member board, a very good board, comprised of folks with some fire service experience, myself included, as well as others from the community. And our mission, our fundamental mission, has always been to provide education and outreach related to wildland fire safety and risk reduction within Sonoma County. So that's what we've been doing. There's a lot within all that, but that's just kind of the overview of what we do. That's our mission statement. So back to Firewise. Firewise is a nationwide program, and it was created through the National Fire Protection Association. And a little bit about the NFPA is what it's, the acronym. The NFPA is a nationwide organization. They've been around forever, it seems like. And they're a standards making entity. So they write a lot of standards that industry will use. For example, the California Fire Code, the California Building Code, the California Residential Code. Those are regulations about how to build things in California. Within those body of regulations, they reference a lot the NFPA standards. For example, to build a house, to build this building, to put the fire sprinklers in, those fire sprinklers have to comply with the NFPA standard 13, which is for fire sprinklers. The alarm system has to comply with NFPA 72, the fire alarm standard. So I just wanted to give you a sense of what the NFPA does. To kind of provide you with some background into how powerful Firewise can be with the support of NFPA. So NFPA built the Firewise program several years ago, and Fire Safe Sonoma, we tumbled to it about 2 years ago. One of our board members had mentioned doing Firewise several years ago, and the board thought about it and then abandoned the idea. We felt like doing local fire safe councils would be a better way to go. Then as things roll along, pretty soon the insurance commissioner starts doing all these interesting things. And one of the things the insurance commissioner's office did was they started recognizing Firewise communities in good standing. And so Fire Safe Sonoma, we caught on to that, and we're like, okay, we maybe want to start slowing down about trying to make local fire safe councils and jump into this Firewise thing and be more helpful for folks. So that's what we did. So we have brought, we've made Firewise one of our #1 products, if you will, that we're promoting countywide. And so what Firewise does is it's mostly an educational program. And let me just flip through here and on my notes. It'd be a lot easier. I think I have a presentation, but we're not set up for that. Okay, so what I'm going to cover is reasons to become Firewise after I've just provided you with the NFPA background. So I'm going to cover reasons to become Firewise, the steps to become Firewise, and how Fire Safe Sonoma can help. So why become Firewise? I mentioned insurance commissioners is started doing stuff basically to encourage folks to become Firewise. And the insurance commissioner has built a system to where insurance companies will start to recognize homes and in some cases provide discounts on your insurance premium for homes that are wildfire resistant, the homes themselves, so structural hardening. They have maintained defensible space around them and are a Firewise community in good standing. So the insurance company calls that safer from wildfires in 1, 2, 3. And those are the 3 elements that you have to do to fully be in line with the Firewise program. So the three things are defensible space, structural hardening, and community scale for become a Firewise community. And with that said, very recently, the California Department of Insurance established that the insurance companies have to provide mandatory discounts for community level mitigation designations, such as Firewise Community in Good Standing, and property level mitigation efforts. So the Insurance Commissioner's Office started promoting Firewise, and now very recently they've basically forced insurance companies to offer some kind of benefit if you meet those two criteria. The additional benefits are, I have a slide for this, you can't see it, but oftentimes when folks go to apply for grant funding to get funding to do projects that they need to do to make the community safer, particularly for wildfire, you have to point to basically studies that show that you deserve the money for your project. And most of the time the grant funders ask you to point to, they ask you, is this project in the California Strategic Fire Plan? Yes or no? Can you point to that, or can you articulate that it's consistent with that? Is it consistent with CAL FIRE's local unit plan? So we reference that. Is it consistent with Sonoma County's community wildfire protection plan? Point to that. And many CAL FIRE's grant applications in particular have a box that you can check, Firewise Community in Good Standing. So that's also a benefit. The more you can show that you've done the groundwork, in particular, I think the funders really like to know that you have community engagement, which is the big thing that Firewise does. If you can, the more you can show that your project can relate to those things, the more likely it's going to be funded. So the 4 steps, the steps to become Firewise, they're really 4. They make it seem easy. They give you 4 steps. There's a lot to unpack in each of the 4 steps. So number 1 is to organize. So, and I'll go into each of these real quickly in a moment. The second step is to do some planning. The third step is to do the work that you identify in a plan. And then the 4th thing is to report on it. So number 1, organize. You create a board or committee or a group. There's no technical name for it. Doesn't have to be called anything, but you kind of find the community champions to lead the team to create the organization and to inspire others to come on board. And then you start doing once you've established your team, then you start doing some planning. First step in planning is to identify your geographical boundary. And about this time when most people start to dive into Firewise, if they've gone to the portal to apply online, they will trigger us, because we'll see it. We've been recognized by CAL FIRE as Sonoma County's regional coordinator for Firewise. So 1 of 2 things will happen if somebody goes online and they're in Sonoma County and they start to do a Firewise application. Either we'll see it through our portal, or CAL FIRE will see it, and they'll call us up and go, hey, did you guys notice, ABC community is interested to become Firewise? Have you guys reached out to them yet? We'll go, oh yeah, we saw that, we got a hold of them before. Oh no, we missed that, we'll run from them. So once we are aware that a community is interested in becoming Firewise, either through that means or through a community organization, or they call us up on the phone and ask about it, then we start working with them to get them there. So then we encourage them, form your group, start doing your planning. And what we like to do is, once we establish that core team, is to pull in local fire and state fire and get the community to do it in person, sometimes hybrid, community meeting. To bring folks in to tell the community about Firewise, to get the fire folks on board, and then from there you start crafting a geographical boundary for your community. And that's where local fire and state fire come in really handy, because they can help, juggle where those boundaries go. It's not the legal geopolitical boundary. It's really just, you know, a line around an area on a map. We try to keep the size. Firewise USA says that the boundary should not include less than or more 8 homes or more than 2,500 homes. CAL FIRE says that's too big and that's too small. So when we work with CAL FIRE, they don't want to see anything smaller than about 20 or 25 homes, and they don't want to see any bigger than a couple hundred homes, 250, you know, around there, depending on how it feels the local team can handle it. If somebody wants to form, it feels like they've got the initiative, the buy-in, the horsepower to do a bigger footprint, what we try to talk them into is to subdivide the area. We've got a couple of communities we're working with now that are pretty large, but they're going to subdivide. You know, it's okay, you've got neighborhood X over here, you've got neighborhood Y over here. CAL FIRE says we'll call them zones within the overall Firewise footprint. And what that does is, you know, for each of those zones, you can have a primary point of contact and an alternate, but they don't have to do really all the heavy lifting that's involved at the higher level, you know, overall community level. So then the other part of the planning is to conduct a community wildfire risk assessment. In Fire Safe Sonoma, we've built some tools to make that easier, and we help people many times kind of get through that process. The whole process is very much like completing a local clean wildfire protection plan. It's like a Reader's Digest version of a CWPP. And then after you've done that risk assessment, your risk assessment, ideally, you look at what you've observed from the work you've done. You know, figuring out, okay, what kind of houses do we have? You know, what kind of roofs are on them? Are people doing defensible space? You know, how's our access? So you look at any issues you may have relative to wildland fire safety. And then you kind of take an overall concept approach. For example, gosh, it looks like a lot of houses in this footprint have wood roofs. We really need to do something about that. Or a lot of, you know, homes aren't doing good with their defensible space. We want to focus on that. So you identify broad areas of focus. And Firewise looks at 4 topical areas as you're identifying where you want to do your work or do mitigation. One is education and outreach. The second is for personal preparedness and evacuation. The third is defensible space at the base home level or community level. And then not necessarily in this order, but the fourth one is you know, reducing structural ignition and structural hardening. So those are the areas of focus. So you identify those, what is most important in those broad areas of focus. And then the third thing you do with the planning is you create a multi-year action plan. The 3-year action plan, the first year, you become Firewise. And it's updated every year to keep it 3 years fresh. And you identify things within those topical areas for each of the 3 years. So for example, we've got a lot of wood roofs, okay? Year 1, we're going to do an educational and outreach program to let people know how dangerous wood roofs are in our footprint. Year 2 might be, we're going to go look for some funding sources, maybe some financial incentive methods that we can get in front of people to help make it easier for them to replace their old wood roof for a good roof. And then, you know, maybe the 3rd year, you go, okay, the 1st year we got half of those roofs done. You know, 3rd year we're going to shoot for the other half of those. Another way we've seen a lot of folks go is oftentimes, you know, you don't get a lot of community engagement right out of the gate. So year 1 might be to, okay, year 1, we're going to improve or increase our community engagement in a number of participants in our Firewise program by 10%. That could be something that goes into your 3-year action plan. And then the last thing you do is you provide the data to the CAL FIRE, Firewise, and Firewise USA. And the thing I really like about Firewise, in addition to the value add with, you know, potential grant funding, doors opening, and the you know, potential for insurance premiums reduction, not to mention the overall fire safety. The thing I like about it is you have to make commitments. So, for example, you have to meet a threshold commitment, the equivalent of 1 hour of time invested per household in your footprint. So that doesn't mean that everybody on the block has to make that commitment. It just means that that's a threshold you have to meet. So for example, if your community consists of 200 homes, then every year your Firewise group has to demonstrate that they've made at least 200 hours of commitment in sweat equity towards Firewise. That doesn't have to be sweat equity, according to Firewise USA. CAL FIRE really likes to see a high percentage of that sweat equity. You could theoretically buy your way out of that. You could say, because what Firewise does is they'll put a dollar value on that time, a monetary value on that sweat equity hour. So it's around $29 an hour. One of the things we learned doing this all over the county is once you put the application in the portal, that dollar value, monetary value per hour of sweat equity, it seems to change by a few cents here and there, depending on where it is in the county. It's kind of interesting. It's like $28.95 over here, and it's $25.43 over here. It's like, it's weird. I don't know why it's like that. It is, but it's around $30 is the monetary value per hour of sweat equity. But what, in terms of back to what I started to say earlier about buying your way out, let's say 200 homes, 200 hours at what, $30 an hour, was that $6,000? Somebody who knows math can tell me if I'm wrong. But let's say that you could do a project, you know, you could do a fundraiser, raise $6,000, do some defensible space. Boom, you've met it. So you could buy your way out. CAL FIRE doesn't like it. And so we really want to see some of that sweat equity go in there too, especially the first year you're applying. So there's that commitment. And then you have to do one community event per year, which is not terrible hard to do. That's the most fun. And that's where Fire Safe Known we can help with, you know, locating venues and helping set stuff up there as well. And then the other thing you have to do as you're working towards, you know, making that match in sweat equity, you're also working on those action plan items that you've identified to get the work done. So the bar is pretty low at 1 hour per household per year. And we've talked to CAL FIRE a little bit about that. And I suspect that at some point CAL FIRE is going to kind of morph into its own Firewise thing and raise that bar a little bit. Because in my opinion, it's a really low bar, but it's a starting point. It kind of, you know, it forces people to do something. If you don't maintain that criteria, then you won't be a Firewise community in good standing. And you won't be able to report that to your insurance and say, you know, yes, we are a Firewise community in good standing. So that's kind of the Firewise, you know, program in a nutshell. And we've been working with communities all over. Well, actually, I did want to share with you. A couple months ago, the Upper Mark West Fire Safe Council, they were the 700th Firewise community in California, so they got the Centennial Award that year. And we were pretty happy about that. We very recently help the community of Hollandale Canyon Terrace in Forestville area get their firewise recognition. So that's an area where what we did is we divided in zones. So we helped them with their community wildfire protection for their local plan. But when we brought them into the Firewise program, CAL FIRE says, let's divide those 3 neighborhoods up into zones instead of having it one. So they, we're like, okay, who do you guys want to appoint for each of the neighborhoods? Who's with Hollandale, who's with Canyon, who's with Terrace? And so, yeah, so that's the way we broke it up there. Got that. That was one of the things they kicked back when we did the application. CAL FIRE kicked it back. They want to see 3 zones. Like, okay. So before I dive into the insurance thing, do you guys have any questions about becoming Firewise?
Okay, let's start off with council members. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just wondering, as you know, a lot of homes around here are vacation. So how, and that means it might be very hard to really even get in touch with the owners of the property, much less, work anything out with them. How does all that figure in?
Through the chair, what we've done before, we recognize that can be a problem. And some of those homeowners, property owners, are quite careless, I think.
Yes.
And that is hard. But again, every home in a Firewise community does not need to meet the criteria. So if I live in a house surrounded by 2 neighbors who aren't doing a bunch, I will probably work very hard to protect those sides of my home as best I can with extra protection. But it doesn't keep me from telling the insurance company that yes, or showing them that yes, I've done my defensible space. Yes, I've done some structural hardening, and yes, I am in a Firewise community in good standing, which I actually have been in. Of course, you guys knew that, right? Yeah. So any other questions?
Okay, best
Like in my neighborhood, just because CAL FIRE and SoCo Fire came by and did inspections, they only do them from the property line. They can't go down into the property. But they did cite 2 properties, and one property ended up getting goats, and those goats basically keep the area around the outside of her house pretty bare. But the 0 to 5 feet is a disaster. So that's one issue where we have the rest of the community is looking pretty good, but we've got that house, and then we have another one, which around here is called the Tweaker House, and it's been cited 3 times, and they've not managed to even get a lien on the property or any of those kinds of things to get this cleaned up, and the people are not motivated to clean it up. Is there anything other than the CAL FIRE and SoCo Fire lien on their property as a means of getting them to do it, or can they force them to sell it? Or if there's a property that's that dangerous right next to other properties, would that negate a Firewise certification?
To the chair, no, it wouldn't negate them from, well, that individual property, the recalcitrant property, would not be able to get any kind of insurance because to get the discount, it's my understanding, you have to do all 3, to get you have to do the defensible space, you have to do your structural hardening to the degree that the insurance commissioner would like, and the insurance company. And then you're in the community that is a Firewise community in good standing. So the Tweaker House could conceivably, if they weren't all drugged out, they could probably go to their insurance carrier and say, look, I'm in a Firewise community, can I get a discount? I don't know if they would give them a discount because they're in a Firewise community or not. They might get a little, percentage of a discount depending on who the carrier is. But to get a full discount, the maximum that an insurance carrier would give you, you really need to do all 3 of the things.
And that one house wouldn't negate Firewise
for the entire.
Not the way the system is
Oh, that's
currently
good.
structured, to my understanding.
Any other comments from council members?
Yes, my question is similar in terms of the neighborhood I used to live in, and most of that neighborhood did pay attention and clean up. But there's a ravine, there's about 20, 30 houses whose property lines go into a ravine, and the ravine is pretty dangerous and full of old dead and dying things. We didn't get a grant for it before, just to get some money to collectively to clean that up. Is that, would those close to, it's sort of similar to, she's talking about a house, but I'm talking about a just very dangerous ravine that's right within that community. Would that be a problem, or are there any other ways that we could help get funding to help clean up that ravine?
Well, to get funding to clean something like that up, if it's in a Firewise community or a fire safe council or what, any kind of organized group, I would put that in the action plan. Say, put that project in the action plan, build it out, figure how much it would cost for you to complete that work, that mitigation, and then seek funding to get it done. And if it's more than one property, and as long as you get property owner permission, you can do it as a community fire break. The biggest problem that we're finding with community scale fire breaks and fuels reduction within forest health projects is that it's really hard to get all the contiguous property owners to participate. It's incredibly challenging. Oftentimes you get a patchwork and you do what you can, but that's how I would tackle that is,
We did get everybody to sign on for a particular grant. It was too small. It didn't fly. They were looking for big projects, and this was a small neighborhood project.
That's a disadvantage as well, being too small. One of the things, a friend of mine used to be one of the grant reviewers for CAL FIRE, and he told me that CAL FIRE used to accept and fund small projects, but it got to where some of the projects were so small that it was costing more in CAL FIRE staff and overhead to manage the project that it wasn't worth it. So, if it's a CAL FIRE grant, I doubt they would fund anything less than $10,000 or $20,000 these days.
So it's a matter of just hanging in there, and we've got the paperwork, we've done the study, the due diligence on it. But just
there's other opportunities for funding. As Supervisor Hopkins mentioned earlier, it sounds like they're extending the vegetation open spaces program, so that's one that you could seek funding through. There are others that
just keep on.
Keep on.
I just need a clarification, Roberta. I didn't get the time period for when you have to sort of re-up in terms of.
Good question. Grant. You didn't get it because I didn't cover it, but I meant to. Thank you.
I do have a redirect question on if the property abuts county property, which has an overgrowth and extreme vegetation issues, what do we do?
Or state property.
So the county real estate is the problem?
Yes.
I think that's a question for Supervisor Hopkins
and
county real estate.
I'll address that with Supervisor Hopkins.
Okay.
Thank you.
When I was a county fire marshal, I experienced that a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you on this section. Is there public comment on this section before Bird goes on to the next section? Go ahead, please. Would you please step forward and stand at the X, if you would? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael. Fascinating. My question is, how sophisticated is Firewise? Does it take it into context that we have really high fuel moisture here, and it's not like one size fits all. There's a reason why we can get away with shake siding and cladding. In Southern California, it has to be stucco. You mentioned wood roofs, which are pretty much, but how about cladding?
In the chair?
Yeah.
Wood cladding, wood siding is okay in most cases, as long as there's not a lot of gaps, a lot of nooks and crannies. However, you know, sidewall shingles, things where there's a lot of opportunities where embers can land and take hold and sit there for a minute, and then you get some wind on it, catch on fire. That's a problem. So, you know, there are standards. Most insurance companies, as I understand it, are using what's called the IBHS Wildfire Prepared Home Standard, which kind of has the prescriptions for what is acceptable for structural hardening. But sidewall shingles, unless they're painted with a.
But does that matter what zone you're in? Does it matter whether you're in the redwood or you're in
so,
the city or whatever?
Yeah, Firewise doesn't look at your property specific to whether you're in a wildfire, high fire severity zone or medium or whatever. But what we do with folks when they're becoming Firewise, we look at that. And so we do a community assessment. You know, there's a bit to it. But at the end of the day, one of the things we take into consideration is the siding on the homes. And, you know, if it looks like 75% of the homes have acceptable siding, then that risk is determined to be low. And so that would end up probably being something that wouldn't end up in your action plan, is something to work on. But the insurance companies, well, I'll talk about that in 1 second.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment on where we are so far? Not seeing any.
If you're joining us online and have a question related to this item, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands.
I can get the public shut if it's not here. Thank you.
That either means I'm doing a really good job or I put everyone to sleep.
So far, so good.
Okay.
We're running out of paper taking notes.
So the insurance part of this is all over the map. The good news we got last night at the presentation that Safer West County did was actually good news, because we had a woman there from the insurance commissioner's office, as well as a representative from United Policyholders, which is an insurance company advocate group, nonprofit. And that's when I discovered that they've finally mandated that insurance companies offer some kind of discounts based on that criteria. So the amount of discount you will receive is going to vary widely. You know, we had one of our constituents said that, you know, we were talking about it and we're asking folks, because we want to get a sense for what's out there. We're like, oh, any of you guys get any of the Firewise discount? He says, I got it. And I think it was a Holiday Inn Terrace. And we're like, oh, what did you think? So I think it was $8. Better than nothing. You know, so it's like, it's almost insulting in that particular case. But then we've heard from other folks in other areas that, yeah, I got a significant discount. It's well worth it. So it really depends on who your carrier is. And then also, some of the insurance companies, as I understand it, they'll actually send a representative out to visit the site and do the walk around. And my worry, having, been the fire marshal with fire inspectors and knowing how one inspector can see something and one not, it's just human nature. I worry that the degree of training that the insurance companies assessors get is probably very little, if at all. And, it's going to be incredibly inconsistent, I fear, from one to the other. You could have somebody go out there from USAA, and say, oh, no, you got to do this and that, this other thing, and then leave. And then you do this, that, and that other thing and say, hey, I did it. Somebody comes out and checks, he says, you don't need to do that. What you needed to do is make this cinder wall on your property line to keep the fire from coming on your property. what if I don't do it? Well, then we're gonna cancel you. So it's really a Wild West show out there still. It's a big moving target. I'm encouraged because of the work the insurance commissioner's office is doing. They're working really hard on this. I truly believe they are. And of course, I believe in the Firewise program, which is why we get behind it. And I think that as things evolve, things will get more stable and consistent. And hopefully we'll see less homes being canceled and, more, insurance premiums being reduced for that reason. But the truth is right now, I wish I had better news, but it's still a moving target, that it is getting better. It's better today than it was a year ago. And a year ago, it was way better than it was 10 years ago. So it's evolving, it's getting better, but it's still a Wild West show out there with insurance. Okay.
Questions on insurance? I can just state that I've been canceled several times in Casadero, and with regard to your comments on the inspectors coming to your home, I had a guy come with an iPhone and he took pictures, and the only thing he said is you need a railing on a deck, and that was the only comment. But the insurance that I was able to get after being canceled by a major insurer here in California was I maintained my regular deductible on everything with the exception of fire. And I have a $6,000 deductible on fire. And the insurance premium is $3,000 a year. So thank God I've got insurance. And you just have to face, there are different ways of skinning the cat with the insurance companies to maintain coverage. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, there are options. My recommend is you visit with your agent and talk through things and see what you can do. Another thing I learned last night was about increasing your deductible.
Right.
And so, you can kick your deductible way up. Now, the only fear I would have with that is to make sure you have that deductible amount, in a savings account or someplace.
Yeah.
Because when the time comes where you have to, claim your loss and burn through that deductible, they're going to want it now, and you're not going to be able to go get a loan on your house afterwards.
All right, comments from the public on insurance.
Oops,
I'm sorry, I see your hand. I apologize.
I just wondered, is there any movement with the insurance commissioner to not just mandate discounts of one form or another, but to mandate that people who are in Firewise communities who've done the home hardening, done the defensible space, etc., whatever, that they cannot cancel their insurance policy.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Vesta, go ahead.
Would an individual homeowner who has done all of the Firewise efforts be able to qualify for a reduction or even just to keep their insurance policy in spite of the fact that the entire neighborhood is not a certified Firewise community? Is there a certification that someone can get, such as the fires assessors like Stuart Mitchell and the wildfire mitigation assessors? Would a certification from someone like that allow the insurance to be secure or reduced just by having that one certification and not necessarily being Firewise community?
I don't know. I think through the chair, I think that it would depend on your insurance carrier if they would honor that assessment or not. But I believe that, I don't know. I'm familiar with Firewise. I suspect that if you've got defensible space and you've got good structural hardening, you're probably going to get a better rate than somebody who doesn't, regardless of whether you're in the Firewise community or not. I think being in the Firewise community is kind of a value add.
And a certification that's separate, like you hire somebody to come by, do your assessment, and they certify that you've done it?
You have to ask your insurance company
Exactly.
who they will accept.
And you have to, there's no guarantee that your insurance company will underwrite fire in the future. I had a number of policies canceled in the community outside of Sonoma County.
Look for things other than fire. Yes.
Because they just pulled out, just say they discontinued their fire policies.
Anecdotally, I put cement siding on my house.
Yes.
Got a reduction from the insurance company, and I used to have to go through California Fair Plan, and the insurance company said we can do better than that, and they then accepted the
Yes.
So I think it really depends on the insurance company.
Party board, that's for sure.
Yeah, great stuff.
Great.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of more on the brass tacks. So we've got a process, excuse me, if I'm following you right, to become fire safe certified. So we have almost a grassroots effort to come up and say, here's my little community. So let's say, you know, my little neighborhood is like 50 houses, of which probably 75% are either vacation rental or summer homes. So good luck. But I'm kind of hearing kind of an arduous process to say, here's checking all the boxes. What resources are out there to help us get through and actually get the plan together? And I mean, I could probably put together, if I got 50 houses, I could probably do 50 hours of sweat equity myself. You know, and kind of go through that actual process and maybe help us do that initial, if we can get the bodies together, help us with the organization so we can get there.
Through the chair, we can help with that. Organizations like Safer West County can get the ball rolling. They can create the buzz, you know, to get folks interested, and get them ready to kind of take that lead. They'll find the champions, particularly in this area. My recommend would be they work with Safer West County to kind of, because they're going to know who the local leaders are, who the best points of contact are, that, you know, to kind of become those community champions. And then once they're ready, then they could call Fire Safe Sonoma, and then we can go in and kind of, you know, do an informational and explain the process. And it's not, I kind of cringe when you use the word arduous. It's actually not terribly difficult to get from here to there. We built a system that I feel like works pretty well. It just, the biggest part of it is, it's interesting because our executive coordinator, she's always reminded me that it's about community engagement. Because like, whether it's a community wildfire protection plan or a Firewise community, I could sit at my desk and do the assessment. You know, there's so much information available to get the data. You know, I can find data that'll tell me how many homes in a certain area have wood roofs, you know, or what the vegetation's like, et cetera. Most of the risk assessment a person could do from their desk, but it's not about that. It's exactly about.
But I think it's more doing what it is that you're looking at and helping us say. I mean, I can count how many houses I've got.
Exactly.
That's easy. But when you start saying, what is the vegetation assessment? Well, I don't know what those qualifiers are, or, you know, I mean, I understand already back around a wall. I mean, that I get.
That's what
when
we
you get
do.
into more of the governmental criteria, sometimes that can be real interesting.
Yeah, that's the important part of that initial community meeting, because we kind of explain people what to look for. And the system that we're building, the kind of the step-by-step is you have the community meeting, you show the community members what to look for, and then you send them home with a survey so that they get to do a self-assessment of their home. If they feel like they can't do it, there's resources available that we could get them help.
So then are you or somebody from Fire Safe Sonoma available to come to those community meetings? It's
That's what
really
we
easy
did.
for me to get a
That's
couple
what we
cases,
did.
you know, I can get a couple of cases of wine and a
No,
couple of
the-
figures and I
That,
can get my
the community needs, yeah, we're committed to, help with that initial kickoff meeting and to help along the way. That's what we're here for. You know, we're not gonna just say, oh yeah, just put the information in and we'll pick it up. Oh, no, they're not there yet. You know, if you ping us, we're gonna reach out to you and we're gonna encourage you to have that first community. It's terribly important because then we know who the fire contacts are too for the area. But, oh, that's, you know, battalion so-and-so, we'll get them, you know, so we'll all work together to come up with the date and time for that community meeting. Then we'll present what Firewise is about, show you how to do that home assessment, what to look for. Then we'll send you on your way to do your own self-assessment and try to collect the data. And we call it a survey. And if the community is such that they're confident that their folks can do it without issues, it's been most of the case, you know, we just send them off with the survey and get the data back. But if they need help, we can help. So that we use that data to take the next steps.
And last question, just a clarification. At one time, I know there was fire safe Burnville. It's all fire safe Sonoma, did I hear you say? Now we're into communities, or what is?
We're a countywide fire safe council. So we work under the umbrella of the California Fire Safe Council. So, yeah.
So what's fire safe Burnville?
They're a local fire safe council.
Right.
Under Safer West County.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically under Safer West County's umbrella.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Public comment.
Can I just-
Yes, one last. Council, we're
I'm
running short on
curious-
time, so.
I'm just curious what you've seen in your work in this area, in communities where there isn't necessarily a place for a meeting, for example. I mean, are people just doing it in their houses and it's hard to get 50 people in my house, but you know.
Yeah, we haven't done any community meetings at an individual home before. We've done some public meetings in a barn before. But oftentimes we just use local firehouse, you know, the school system, the school districts here are pretty good. Some of them belong to this program where you can actually go online and see if there are auditoriums available. We've done that in East County a couple of times where it's like, oh, we need to book the auditorium for our community meeting.
In Forestville, we've used the youth park meeting room.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the mining.
Hollydale.
Okay.
Hollydale.
They have the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're rentable. They're rentable. That's the thing you have to know.
Best place.
Yes, thank you.
Back to the public again, for public comment. Do we have, yes, go ahead. Please step up to the X.
I'm in the process of starting a Firewise neighborhood in Mankato.
Oh,
So that's me. And I started a Firewise neighborhood up in Tuolumne. And in terms of people that are involved in the program, once you reapply, you get approved and you recognize, they send the leader out a certificate that shows that, you know, you're a member. And then I sent that out to the members and they could send that into the insurance companies. That's how you notify the insurance company that you qualified. And Firewise is a wonderful program. I mean, with all the benefits that she spoke about, it's also tremendous for community building, you know, because we had a work day and there were 8 of us that got together and we did a bunch of work. And in 4 hours, we made a huge difference. And then we had a huge barbecue afterwards. And the thing that was so nice, I was talking to my neighbor, my old neighbor, and she said, now when fire season happens, she said, I don't worry about it. She says, you know, we got our to-go bags. We've done all the clearing around here. We've done structural hardening, so you can relax, you know, and that's a huge thing when you live in an area that has a lot of fire, to know that you've done everything that you can do. So it's an amazing program. I just encourage everyone to look into it.
How's it been working on Marika? Okay.
Good to hear a positive comment on Firewise experience. That's great. Thank you.
One last thing, if I could close it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got the informationals with Fire Safe Sonoma. If you have more questions or want more information about Firewise, contact Marika Ramsden. She's our Firewise point of contact. She couldn't be here tonight, so.
Thank you. One last, do we have a public comment on this is remote?
I don't see any hands raised. Tracy, do you want to do an announcement?
If you're joining us online and would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much to have you. We learn a lot when you're making presentations, whether it be Firewise or anything else. It's great to see you. Thank you.
It's good to hear. You're very welcome.
Thank you. All right, we're moving now on to our next agenda item, which is public comment for matters not listed on the agenda. This would be the public's opportunity to discuss comments or restricted matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please be brief and limit your spoken comments to 2 minutes. Do we have public comment from the audience?
If you'd like to make a comment on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands online.
Very good, thank you. That closes item number 8. We'll move on to item number 9 with the committee reports. We have a first committee report. It's a community cleanup ad hoc report from Chair Robertson, delivered by me.
Excuse me, I'm looking at this very small screen. So our last meeting, which was the beginning of this month, we basically debriefed on our involvement in the Pride weekend. We did a cleanup of the parade route before Friday, before people started coming in, and then we were there at the festival afterwards, and actually had a booth there for the MAC through the communications committee, and we helped with cleanup of Johnson's Beach afterwards. And it was pristine. It really was. We've never seen Johnson's Beach that clean. So we feel like we had really good participation in that, and it was a worthwhile event for us to help with. We've been looking at working through Russian River Keepers to help with unhoused camp cleanups before, as Vesta said, the rains come, and we know where that trash goes. So we are in the midst of, again, working with Russian River Keepers, having them take us to some of these areas to see what needs to get done, and then decide how we can help. We're looking at, as Vesta mentioned earlier, we're looking at the conundrum of the Adopt a Road program, which apparently is spotty at best. And we're looking at a couple of things, how we can help get the word out about Adopt a Road, but also what we can do in places where there has not been an adoption of the road. And Vesta, where's the next one? By the Burks?
In terms of cleanup?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Rio Nito to downtown Guerneville is a section of River Road that has not been adopted. And there's a section by the, what is that called? Oh my goodness, there's the hardware store, there's the Bonnie's So Good. There's a whole area that has a tremendous amount of trash.
And it's where if you take a Burke's canoe down the river, that's where you disembark and they pick you up.
Yes, and Burke's takes care of their own little tiny section of the land there, but it's literally a spit of land on that section. So we're looking for how we're going to do a cleanup, and on November 16th, we're planning a cleanup. It's pretty informal, but we would love to have some help with people just coming out and help. We provide the vests and the pickers. And so I just did a River Road cleanup with River Keeper. It's really quite safe when you know what you're doing and you have the vests and the pickers and you're basically waving things in the air so people can see you go by. But that's a visible stretch of road, and it's also extremely visible for people coming to the Russian River area and specifically coming into Guerneville. So we're hoping that we can get people and the businesses along that section of the road, which are quite a few, to adopt this section of the road. And that's where we expanded out to maybe it's the Russian River Chamber of Commerce, because those businesses have been approached by Riverkeeper and they're not going for it. So what do we do to increase awareness of Adopt a Road? And how do we get people to simply get out there and clean it, especially before the river rises, but all summer long, all year long? It really is a big issue, and it's a visual issue as well. So that's one of the things we're trying to figure out how to solve this problem.
Just a quick question, Beth. Thank you for your comments. And are your pickers, do they have, are they equipped with, first of all, the safety meeting before the picking starts? Do they have safety vests and so
When
forth?
we worked with Riverkeeper and at the Adopt a Road, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we
Great,
have to
thank you.
sign documents and all
Right.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
So the safety procedures are covered thoroughly. Once you've gone through the training, you can literally get out there and do it on your own as well. And
Right.
so, and then you can keep the vests and the pickers so that you can take the time to go do that. But the best thing would be for entities to adopt these sections of road. And it's Adopt a Road through the Sonoma County program, and it's you can see the signs everywhere. Businesses have signs that say they've adopted a section. So it's like having a promotion on the side of the road for your business.
Exactly.
So-
In Casadero, we
It's
have
free.
adopted the Casadero Highway from Highway 116 to the town of Casadero. That's sponsored by the community club.
Right, and so this
Yeah,
community club gets a
right.
sign that says this has been adopted
Exactly.
by.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just, no, the cost side, I mean, if the business wants to adopt Rio Vito to Guerneville, what's the obligation?
The obligation is to do it 3 times a year, is that what it is?
Which means what, like, they go down and they pick up trash three times a year or?
Twice a year, twice a year. And you pick up trash and you leave it in orange bags and you call public infrastructure and they pick them up.
So there's no cost to be an adopter,
No.
you just gotta do the work twice a year.
Yeah,
Right.
I know, it seems so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah. Joe.
First of all, I think the chamber idea is brilliant because it's a consortium. You know, if you can get one person from Olive Gallery, one person from,
Then they'll,
you know,
the dog.
Rainbow Pelican, you can get it done. So thank you for that idea. I think it's really good. I just want to clarify for everybody, this is next Thursday, the 16th,
Yes.
and the meeting place and time.
We're actually Carol Shoemate from Riverkeeper and I are going to discuss it tonight because if we want to put it out into the world. So right now we were looking at which parking lot near the exit to Burke's, which is how we define it. And I can't even remember what the address is. We looked it up. But which parking lot would allow us to put our pickup trucks out there?
Right.
Because what we found is that sometimes we'll find some large objects, and so we'll throw them in our pickup truck and leave them at a particular location that we call public infrastructure, and they will pick up those large objects as well as the orange bags that we leave there for them. And they're usually picked up within a couple of days.
So the best of what I would suggest that you give the information once you have a time and place to our staff, and they can send a note out to all of us as members, the council members, and we in turn can post the information on local websites and so forth.
We post.
Yeah.
We post as well.
Yeah, so right now it's November 16th, Thursday, and somewhere near Bonnie So Good.
Well, we need to finalize this.
But what we find is that we wait until the commuter traffic is finished. And then, so last time we got together at 8:30, got ourselves out on the road by 9. And that's a really good time to do it. It's pretty calm by then. Things pick up after that. So that early morning is a good time to be out there.
But I think it's important to mention that through the community cleanup committee, this is just one of the tools that we're looking at. We still want to encourage people to do their own neighborhood cleanups because Adopt a Road doesn't adopt your road necessarily unless you live on the road.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we really, and the tools for that are online now, and as well looking at how we can help you in bigger community cleanups. We still want to get participation of other communities.
Right.
Yeah, on the Lower River Max site, there's an actual manual that Lucy put together for how to do a town cleanup.
Right.
Get the dumpsters into ecology, who to talk to and all that sort of stuff. So it's a combination of these big cleanups and then the little ones that really make a difference day to day.
Thank you. We want to open this now up. The council has discussed it to public comment here in the room. On the item, do we have public comment on remote?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Question, more of a comment.
Can you come to the
Sure.
for the
So I'm just wondering what's being done from a law enforcement point of view for some of these issues, specifically regarding the trash and so on and so forth. And just to know, I have reached out to Supervisor Hopkins' office. I did request a meeting with her and was denied. She would not speak with me. And I did speak twice with her chief of staff, who's a lovely person, Tracy, but I'm relatively new. I have a place in San Francisco and here in Montreal. I have my supervisor's cell phone in San Francisco and was not able to reach Supervisor Hopkins. So I thought that was disappointing because these issues are important to me because I own riverfront property. Thank you.
So question, when you're talking law enforcement, are you talking litter fines?
I don't really understand how the political climate works here in terms of law enforcement. It's different in the city for sure. So I really wanted to gather more information about how this works. I have tried reaching out to the sheriff's office with mixed review. So I'm trying to learn more information about like how this works because I really don't know.
Well, my specific.
I'm going to answer it for the trash out.
All right.
For us, we don't enforce anything.
I understand that.
Right. So, and specific to issues that you have pertaining to trash left out, things that look unsafe, you can go on SoCo Connect and report it. And you will get a response.
Thank you.
And I don't think there are any law enforcement officials who chase down litterers anymore. I don't think that our law enforcement has enough staff to pull that off.
Right. And staff, you might want to get his email contact and then follow up with the Supervisor as well. Right. We have commented online on this issue.
Are there any comments?
If there's anyone who would like to make a comment online, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Thank you. We'll close out that item and we'll move on to the communications ad hoc report.
Very briefly, we continue to attend events and table. We did Russian River Pride. We did the health fair at Burnville School and Fortsville Town Hall. We have an impressive list of events that we attended this summer. It's all going to wind down now. There's a couple more, the night market, a couple others. Our discussions currently are about what's next and what's next year. So we have a list of priorities, including getting more publicity through media, reaching out to the Spanish-speaking community more effectively. Debbie's raised a couple of things for us to do next year in terms of reviewing responsibilities of the MAC and that kind of stuff. Next meeting, we are going to propose, we are an ad hoc, and ad hocs have a life of a year. They're not permanent committees, but we have compelling reason to continue. So we're kind of dancing around it by proposing that we change our name and create another ad hoc and have a pretty robust list of things that we'd like to accomplish next year. So you'll hear more about that in December. As a matter of suggestion, you might want to approach the chair in January and rename your ad hoc to Communications 2024. That will solve the problem. We're thinking of something creative like community outreach.
There you go. All right.
Public relations engagement.
Very good. All right. Any comments from council members on this report?
Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you to the counties for For us, you know, we did the whole summer of events. Without interest.
Right now we're ready to go. Good. All right. No further comments from the council members. Going out to public. No comments seen here. Do we have remote comments?
I have no hands raised online.
Very good. Back to us. We move on to item number 10, which is adjournment. Thank you very much for attending this evening. I appreciate everyone's attendance, and we appreciate Senator Roberta. Thank you so much.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. A little bit over time. We're 11 minutes over. Pardon me?